Hey y'all, welcome to another Soul Food Sunday. Come on in and have a seat at this dinner table because we are cooking up a feast today. Now, a family member commented a couple of videos ago and asked if I could make some ribs. Now, I've only made ribs twice in my lifetime, so ribs are kind of foreign to me. At least cooking ribs is foreign to me. Let's see if I will be able to pull this recipe off, because I had to dig deep to find a recipe for beginners. So sit back, relax. It's going to be a cookout type of video today. But before we get started, let's take a look at the menu. Since I have a full day of cooking, let me go ahead and get in this kitchen and get started. And then Jordan is going to give you his rating of how much he likes or dislikes today's dinner. Stay tuned. Carrot cake is the dessert of choice today. I wanted to make peach cobbler, but everyone else wanted carrot cake, so here we are. I've made this before, and the recipe is pretty much the same, where I use 4 room temperature eggs, 1 cup of milk, and 2/3 cups of butter and a boxed cake mix. Now, what are some ways to level this cake up? We could add in some nuts like pecans or walnuts. That would give it a good crunch. Or you could also add shredded coconut or crushed pineapple. But with the way my family's allergies are set up, I cannot do any of those options. But they do sound tasty, y'all. I've added in some raisins, so now I'm just gonna let it continue mixing. I try not to over mix because that will lead to a tough cake. I try to keep the mixing around 2 minutes or less. I follow the baking instructions on the back of the cake mix box, but for this cake I'm adding a little extra time because this bundt cake pan is smaller but taller. And now I'm giving it the toothpick test to make sure that everything cooked evenly. Y'all, I know there are a lot of ingredients laid out for the ribs, but trust me when I say it's worth it. These are not the best cut ribs, y'all. I grabbed what I could get because they were on sale and the options were limited. So now I'm just removing the membrane. I didn't even know this was a thing, y'all, but thankfully I did my research before making these. Now, the purpose of removing the membrane is so that the meat is not all tough and chewy. The membrane doesn't break down during the cooking process, so that is what leads to the chewiness. Removing it is not mandatory, and you can totally leave it on and cook it on there, but just know that the texture of your meat is going to be a little bit different. Now that I've tenderized the meat with a fork, I'm just adding some the mustard acts as a binder. It helps the seasoning stick to the meat. You won't taste it at all once it's finished cooking. Something else you could use instead of mustard is apple cider vinegar, beef broth, or Worcestershire sauce, barbecue sauce. Either of these will make the spices stick to the meat. And because I'm not cooking these ribs on a grill, I'm adding liquid smoke. That's going to give it that smoky flavor to make it taste like I cooked these on a grill. For the spices, I used 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of seasoned salt, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper. And what I did was I combined all of the spices together in a bowl, so all I had to do was just sprinkle it onto the ribs. So now I just turned the meat over, and I'm following the same process as I did on the front side. The only difference is this time I started with the liquid smoke first. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. You can do liquid smoke first, then the mustard. Either way will work. But this time I added the liquid smoke. I rubbed it into the meat. Then I added the mustard. And then now I'm just adding the spices. Notice that I'm not rubbing the spices into the meat. I'm just lightly patting it, because if you rub it, it's going to come off, and you don't want your spices to come off of the meat. And now I'm just going to let the meat sit for about 15 minutes so that all of the spices can absorb into the meat. And this is what my meat looks like after cooking it in the oven for 2 hours at 275 degrees. Now for that last hour, what I'm going to do is cook my ribs in a foil packet. And on the foil packet, I'm just adding some brown sugar. There's no specific measurements. I'm just adding brown sugar, and then I'm going to add a stick of butter. And then I'm going to place the meat on top of the butter and brown sugar. And then I'm going to add some A&W root beer, y'all. You are not going to taste the root beer during the cooking process. This is only to steam the meat. It's just going to level up that brown sugar and butter flavor. I'm going to place these back in the oven at 350 degrees for 1 hour.
Slow it down. There's no need for us to rush it. No.
The first thing I'm going to do is saute my onions in bacon grease. Yes, y'all, I have a stash full of bacon grease, and I wanted to give it that bacon flavor since I'm not actually adding bacon. So cooking it in the bacon grease will give it that flavor. Then I'm going to add the chopped sausage, and I'm going to cook it all together and let the flavor from the sausage release into the onions. And then I'm going to add my garlic, because you don't want your garlic to burn. You want to make sure you cook your onions and everything first before you add that garlic, because garlic does cook really fast. Then I'm going to take 2 cans of Bush's baked beans. Well, I actually drained 1 can of the beans and the other one I didn't. And then I'm just pouring it all into a bowl. And then I'm going to add some chili powder and liquid smoke to give it that smoky flavor. And then I'm going to add some barbecue sauce and ketchup. Now this does seem like a lot. I'm not sure what this is going to taste like. In my head, I'm thinking with all of these ingredients, it's going to be super sweet, and I'm thinking that I probably should have left the barbecue sauce or the brown sugar, probably all of it all together, out, because it is going to be kind of sweet with all of those flavors added together. This is a recipe that I found in one of my dad's cookbooks. Normally when I cook baked beans, I just pop open that can and warm it up. I did not know there was like a particular recipe, like things that you can do to jazz these beans up. So now I'm just going to bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for 45 minutes, just long enough for them to thicken up. Let's cook some mac and cheese, y'all. Right now I'm multitasking by shredding my sharp cheddar while letting the water come to a boil for the pasta. This is a great way to allow the cheese to soften so that it will easily melt when you combine all of the ingredients together. So now that my water has come to a boil, I've added salt. The purpose of adding salt is to give the pasta more flavor because it absorbs that salt when it's cooking. I've added some butter and I'm going to give it a good stir so that the butter can melt. Next, I'm adding white pepper. I know I had black pepper in the ingredients list at the beginning, but I switched to white pepper thinking that I wouldn't see the black pepper specks in the macaroni. I totally forgot about the Creole seasoning because you will see all of the little specks with the Creole seasoning. So moral of the story, it doesn't matter which one you use. It's all going to taste delicious. So now I'm just adding the sharp cheddar cheese to my pasta. This is the cheese that I shredded earlier. I'm also going to be using Kobe Jack cheese in a bag because that shredded cheese is just not enough for this macaroni. I have some room temperature half and half that I'm pouring in here. Right now I'm starting with 2 cups, and then I'm going to add an additional cup because if your macaroni and cheese go in dry, it's going to come out dry. So I want my macaroni and cheese to be as wet as possible. So that's why I add so much half and half. Now that I have my mac and cheese the way I want it, I'm going to pour the egg in. Remember to taste your macaroni and cheese before putting that egg in there, because once that egg goes in there, there's no more tasting. So now I'm just going to pour my mac and cheese into a dish, and then I'm going to bake it at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. But before I put it in the oven, I'm going to sprinkle more cheese on there. Y'all, I miss my smoked Gouda cheese. I didn't have any smoked Gouda cheese this week, so I'm just using sharp cheddar and Kobe Jack, but it's still going to taste good. And the final thing that I'm going to do before it goes into the oven is sprinkle some paprika on it, and the paprika gives it that color.
Episode of Jordan's Reviews, and today my mother went all out because what we have here is a delicious spread of egg. First of all, I'm loving the look of the carrot cake, but that's just the big back in me. So then we got the green beans with a side of sausage and baked beans, and what I'm seeing here is ribs, red lobster biscuit, deviled eggs. I know that. My favorite mac and freaking cheese. Okay. At a glance, it all looks delicious. No nitpicks, and that's probably because I don't see any potatoes, but then again, even then, it still looks pretty dang delicious. You cooked this to perfection, I see. So, I think I said, yeah, that's the analysis from a view, of course. So, let's dive into the taste. No more blabbering. Let's see. I don't know what to start on. So, we're going to go with healthy first. And eat the green beans. I just want to get an even spread of, sausage, green beans, perfect. First of all, delicious. Second, my tongue. It was burnt. Okay. I did not realize how fast this came out the oven. Okay. Yeah, okay. Delicious! I may have to get a new tongue after this, but that's besides the point. Moving right along, baked beans. Let's try it. I don't want to get too much here. I also want to get a plenty so I can, sample it properly. We had an exquisite restaurant or something. That should not have slapped as hard as it did. That was hidden. Indescribable. Like, what did you do to these beans?
You know, I had to jazz them up some kind of way.
No, you jazzed them up all right. Disco freaking beans. Okay, they were jumping for joy in my mouth because the flavor was very expressive, groovy, as I say. I'm looking forward to the rest of this meal, so we're gonna keep going. Deviled eggs next. Now, normally I eat these things whole, but I want to sample it for you all so I can, move right on to the other things. So we're just gonna probably use our hands because with this fork, it's not coming off. Yeah, just get a good look at that. It's going to be going down my gullet here in 5 seconds. So, one good glance, and here we go. Devilishly delightful. Very delightful. The Let's go for the mac and cheese. Nope, stay on your toes. We're going for the lobster next. We're taking a small bite because if you've watched the channel for long enough, every time I take a bite out of a biscuit, it stays in there for about every bit of a year. I think New Year's would have rolled around by the time I actually finish eating the biscuit. So we are going to try to take a good portion, but small at the same time so I'm not stuck here chewing eternally. So we're gonna... That's not big enough. Hang on, we gotta go bigger. Okay. I lied, we'll be chewing. Okay. We will be chewing. Okay. I lied to you all, but here we go. Delicious. Okay. It didn't take as long as I thought it would. Extravagant. That's all I have to say about that. Exquisite eats. No. I didn't notice the ribs under that. I don't know how I didn't notice, but okay, it's besides the point. We gotta keep going. So, nice healthy serving of it. That's too big a piece, so we're just gonna... There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Perfect. Down the hatch we go. Just to be on the right side. You made that?
I made
You made that piece of art?
by myself.
Put that in the museum. That needs to be right along with Leonardo da Vinci. That's smacking. That's... No words can describe the heavenly meal that I have just eaten today. That ribs. When I say angels were singing, the angels were calling. I heard the chorus in the back to the front to the middle seat. Now, for my favorite. There's two of my favorites here, so we're just gonna... Mac and cheese. That's obviously my number one go-to. Shake that off a little. That's always good, okay. Had to get that out there. You just never cease to amaze with the mac and cheese. It's always the right amount of cheese and just about literally everything. I like cheesy food, so it's kind of hard to make mac and cheese wrong for me, but I don't know why my mother just blows it out of the park every time. Like, I don't think the mac and cheese can't get any better than it already is, right? I stand corrected. So, I think we have one final benefactor. Carrot cake with white frosting. I believe that's new. What frosting?
Homemade cream cheese frosting.
Homemade cream cheese frosting. Mm-hmm. You heard it here, viewers. That's how you know. It's not gonna be good. It's going to be good. You know. Anywho, we're going to take I want to take a big piece, but we'll take a small piece for the people. Yeah, so we're just gonna get a fraction right there. Holy smokes, Jinkies, holy, oh my goodness. Alright. Flavor was so good it stuttered my brain. Okay. Sweet, delicious, in all the right places. The cream cheese really brings it out. And the texture is, I'm gonna chop it. Okay, it's soft, but that wasn't a perfect chop. But anyway, it's soft. Okay, the texture is lovely. Taste, lovely. Frosting, somehow godly. I'm convinced you took that out of a Bible. I think that was the last thing. All of this definitely deserves gotta go higher. I normally, y'all know me, I'd just be going for the higher numbers. This, if I knew the angel number, I would say that, but I don't know it. So we're just going to go with a million out of 10. No, this is perfect.
Woo!
All of this, delicious. And with that, my review is complete. With all that being said, thank you for tuning in for George's Reviews. Now, if you excuse me, I got a big back attack. Now, I would take all of this in one go, but I also don't want to spill it on the floor, so macaroni and cheese, grab the fork, and adios. See you later.
Y'all, Jordan was not kidding about that food. It was chef's kiss. That's how good it was. It was so delicious. And those ribs were fall off the bone tender. You hear me? They were fall off the bone tender. That's how good they was. I mean, everything was delicious. But them ribs were so good, I didn't even complete the final step. Now, the final step is to rub barbecue sauce on them and then place them back in the oven at 500 degrees for about a minute or two. You have to keep your eyes on them when you do that. But that was the final step. I didn't do that because when I tasted those ribs, when they came out of the oven, I was like, whoever wants barbecue sauce can add barbecue sauce at that point, but these things are good. So I'm not adding anything else to these ribs, but they were so good, y'all. Now, if I did have to critique today's dinner, I would say the baked beans were too sweet. They were way too sweet. I think I overdid it with the brown sugar and the barbecue sauce because Bush's baked beans are already sweet, and then when you add that Sweet Baby Ray's and some brown sugar, that was overkill. So it could have done without all of that. It would have been good without all of that. But I guess because I'm used to just opening a can of beans and warming them up. That's how I do baked beans. I've never added anything extra to my beans. So, I mean, maybe they taste like they were supposed to taste. And I don't know. Maybe they taste like they were supposed to taste and they were supposed to be sweet. But yeah, the baked beans could have done without all of that sugar. But other than that, everything was delicious. Now, the carrot cake was good. I wanted to do something else like a peach pie or something, but my family wanted carrot cake. So that's how that ended back up in Soul Food Sunday because they outvoted me. I was the only one who didn't want the carrot cake, but it turned out good. They demolished that cake. That cake did not survive 3 hours. That cake was gone in about 3 hours. Y'all, that is crazy. Now, I debated whether or not I should make deviled eggs, and that's only because eggs are so expensive. So that's why I debated on whether or not I should use so many eggs, but I went ahead and did it. It was only like 6 eggs, I think. I cooked about 6 eggs, so it wasn't too bad. The way these prices are set up, I had all kinds of second and third thoughts, but I went ahead and made those deviled eggs and they turned out pretty good too. I would have done potato salad, but my husband and I are the only ones who eat that, and I'm trying to cook things that I know everybody will eat so that nothing goes to waste. So the deviled eggs is the substitute for that potato salad. Let me know down in the comment section, what did y'all cook today, or what are y'all cooking? Let me know, because I love seeing what y'all are cooking. I love seeing what's on your menu. It gives me ideas and inspires me to cook things that I normally wouldn't cook, like these ribs. But as always, I pray that you all have an amazing day. And family, we will chit chat in the next one. Talk to you later. Bye.